bloodlust, under the sun misunderstood. I'm making my way.
Thank you for tuning into the On the Gold podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Hoagland, joined today, as usual, with my co-host, Mr. Kevin Bell. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Kev?
It is going good, if not great. You know, we're fantastic. I'll just pick any of them. One's good, one's better, and one. Yeah, let's just go with fantastic because that is the way I feel today. Episode 2, season 2, and we're going to do what we promised, where we talk about some of the new things that we have seen at the first 3 GPAA Gold Treasure Shows. And I shouldn't say all new, because some of it's not new. Some of them are old friends that have come back around.
Yep.
Hey, you know what? Before we get started on that, let's talk about a couple of gold things going on. Gold is at an absolute all-time high.
Right. Yeah, it is definitely moving up.
You know, hey, man, we have got to work on your head turn. I got an email after episode 1 of season 2. A couple of people asked me, hey, was Kevin Bell sleeping? Was KB sleeping in between when you were talking and so on? And I understand what you're doing, and I truly appreciate it, because you're trying to save me a whole bunch of editing. And right off the bat, there's a little bit of a lag there between when I stop talking and when Kevin starts talking, and that's because he's trying to be an absolute excellent co-host, and he has a hypersensitive microphone that isn't just a spot on. It picks up things from the side as well. So when I stop talking, he has to turn his head to get it back in front of the mic, because he's turning his head away from the mic. And I tell you, let's try, because of the recording, the online system that we're using right now. I don't know if you can run that mute button a little bit, but because I really don't want to do a lot of editing this year. I don't want to do a lot of editing this season, and I'm not going to pick on you about it, but I am going to pick on you about it a little bit. We're having fun, and I'm not, and it's not something I haven't already said to you, but I don't think you can, unless you get a different microphone, and I may end up just sending you one of the other studio mics that I have here. It's going to be really tough for you to go from over here where you can barely be heard to right back over to here. And being able to get there. So we'll have to work on that. If you can use the mute keyboard shortcut, we can try that. Hey, you know what? Let's do what we got to do. And if more people complain about it, and they're not really complaining, they were more concerned that maybe something was happening. It's not a lag on our system. It's a great co-host that turns his head away from a hypersensitive microphone. So I appreciate what you're doing, but we got to work on trying to figure out that lag. And by the end of this episode, if we haven't figured it out, guess what? You're going to be getting one of my other studio mics in the mail, and we'll try that and see how that works. Because that way you won't have to turn your head that far away.
But we'll do the mute for now.
Okay, we'll give that a try. All right, let's get back to the subject at hand. GPAA Gold Treasure Shows, the first 3 are over, and there's been some really cool stuff at the gold shows this year. So let's talk about 3 or 4. Yeah, we've seen some really cool stuff. Let's talk about 3 or 4 items. Try not to take up, a huge amount of time. But these are really cool things that you and I both have seen. And one of them, the very first one I want to talk about, I really haven't had a chance to sit down with Mike and have him go over everything on how it works, but you got a chance to have the complete and total demonstration of it, didn't you? Of the mag zip.
Yeah, it was at Stanton.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is an awesome tool.
So let's talk about the mag zip. The mag zip actually separates your black sand and pulls it off to one side, and drops all of your blondes. We'll just call them blondes, and all of your non-ferrous material off to the other side. That's the best way to say it. All of your ferrous material goes to one side, and all your non-ferrous material goes to the other side.
Right, so, and it's a dry separator, and I'll tell you what, it is very precise in how it does that and how it meters that.
Now, when you say dry, do you think it can be used with damp material or even wet material? It's not designed for anything other than dry, right?
Yeah, I've only seen it with dry, so I think that it's primarily used with dry material.
Hence, probably the name of the company, Dry Mining
Yeah,
LLC. Mike
yeah.
Robinson, Dry Mining LLC. Makes sense that it's a dry unit. So, I've walked by, I've seen it running. Talk to me about it. Tell me what you saw about it, and let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. What he did was, I think they classified down to 12 mesh or through a 12 mesh screen. And then what they're doing is they actually pour that into the system, and that there's a divider in there, and it actually separates into the two buckets. And it processed that material very quickly.
And,
I was amazed at how fast it separated.
and you said 12 mesh?
I want to say I think it was 12 mesh. It was a reduced mesh.
Okay.
But it like you said, it had a little bit of mixture of both blondes and the magnetite, and it went through it very quickly.
Right. And so do you know what the manufacturer recommendation is for first pass? Is it 12 mesh? Is that what it says?
I think it is. Now, when I saw it at Stanton, that's what he had.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to say that it's 12 mesh or minus 12.
Okay.
But
And I think you and I both know that that's not going to be the end all be all. I mean, if I run something, well, we've talked about this. We've talked about this a lot in the past. Is that my material is going to dictate the actual mesh that I'm going to use.
right,
So
bring the black sands and the blonde sands down to the size of the gold
right, yeah, exactly.
that you're expecting to recover.
Okay. So if you ran it at 12 and maybe you've got a little bit bigger stuff in there, let's just say that you've classified it down to 12, and your gold is at, I don't know, your gold is at 16. I'm going to definitely be running. I'm going to keep running it. I'm going to use different separation or different classification, get it down to my gold.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what else? I'm sorry. Anytime somebody says classification, it just, I think it makes both of our ears perk up, because it's not about classifying to what a manufacturer says. It's like metal detecting. You don't set the sensitivity based upon what the factory says. You base it. You set your sensitivity
on your
based
condition.
on the
Sure.
condition of the ground that you're hunting in, and we were both pretty adamant about setting our classification based upon the gold that we're finding.
Right.
So
Always.
okay. All right.
Yeah, and I don't think I think that tends to be an upper level, not the lower level.
Okay. Okay. Then, yeah. So let's just go with that. We'll say you start out at 12 mesh, and maybe 12 mesh is the best thing for it. But if you can cut that back a little bit, if my gold is smaller than that, and I can get it down to that mesh on the first pass, or the first pass after bench classification, and getting it down to that, whatever. I'm gonna do it based upon my gold. So what else is really cool about the machine?
Well, the nice thing is it all packs into there was a tub or a tote that everything packed into, so it's a very compact unit that actually fits inside of a very lightweight tote that actually is part of the unit.
Right.
And it's something that's you're not gonna leave at home.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
If you want to leave it at home, you can, but it's something you can easily take with you.
Yeah, and I watch
and
Mike.
get in the field.
Yeah, I watch Mike run a lot of material through it. Now, of course, that's you're at a show. You've already got exactly what you're running. It's not like you're running your bench run material or or breaking it down and getting it down to 12 mesh and things like that. And it's perfectly dry. But when I would walk by the couple of times that I had the chance to come by, to walk by and see it, it really, I mean, it was doing exactly what he said it was supposed to be doing. All your ferrous to one side, all your non-ferrous to the other side. And I mean, I'd be real interested in using that and then taking some of the ferrous material and then breaking that down a little bit further to see how much, if there's any micron, getting down to 1, 2, 300 mesh still trapped up in the black sand. That's, I think you're always going to have some loss in the black sand just because of the way the particles of black sand come together and the way that they'll trap a piece of gold with, you get 4 or 5 pieces of black sand that come together, you may have a little tiny piece of gold in there. But if you're getting the majority of your gold and you've got a 0.003% loss as it comes across and it gets caught up in the ferrous side, I'm probably not going to worry about that. I'm probably just going to, yeah, I'll put that in the 55-gallon drum and sell it to somebody. Who cares at that point?
Right. And when I saw him at the show, the first thing I was thinking about was how many people have buckets and buckets of black sand in their garage?
I know I have a bunch.
Right. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 in my garage, and I'm supposed to, be one of the old, mining equipment guys. But I'll tell you, you get lazy and you pour it in the bucket, and the next thing you know, they grow.
It is amazing how black sand does grow. You put a little water on black sand, and suddenly it starts to grow, and you come back and it finds its way into another bucket, and it just multiplies in the bucket, and you walk back. You walk out a year later, and you've got 7 Homer. You had 2 Homer buckets in January, and come October, November, you suddenly realize that Homers. Now you got like 8 or 9 Homer buckets in there.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the tool that gets rid of that black sand once and for all.
Right. Years ago, there was I don't know if the guy was actually a physicist or if he was an engineer, but there was a product, and this was back in the early 90s, and it was called the MagSep. And what this guy had done is he had taken 3 big Bakelite blocks, and he had set rare earth magnets into these Bakelite blocks at different orientations, and then held them I don't know how he did it, but he held them in place as he put the rest of the Bakelite on top of it. And this was a wet system, so you put all of your black sands into a feeder. You put all your material into a feeder on the top, generally just your black sands, with whatever blonde that you had. And as it would go down the tube, the black sands would be pulled against these 3 blocks. And because the orientation was different, it would cause those particles of black sand to change their orientation and release that micro gold. So the gold would immediately drop out and head down and then go out into a almost virtually flat sluice box. And then the black sands would go down and down and down, and once they ended up into a different tube, and then those would go out as waste. And to me, it was the greatest. It was one of those things that I wish the guy hadn't passed away, because as far as I know, there was only like 5 or 6 of these things ever built. And I had my hands on one, and I had it in my old shop for, 6-8 months. And I would let people just come in and work their material. It was just self-standing. I didn't have to deal with it. It was sitting in a black tub, and just used the recirculating system. But that to me was the greatest tool, next to crushing your material and then going back into gravity or going into chemical recovery, that I'd ever seen. And from what I'm gathering and from what I saw the MagZip and what you and I have had as far as conversations, this is that dry unit of that MagZip. It's the same. It's the same principle. I'm going to separate my ferrous from my non-ferrous. I'm going to do it quickly. I'm going to do it efficiently. And if I have a little bit of loss, the loss is probably going to be absolutely insignificant as far as the recovery is concerned. Do you remember what the price tag was on that unit?
I want to say it was around $400.
That's cheap.
Somewhere around that.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
That's really cheap.
Oh, that's easy money.
Yeah, that's really cheap if you're out there and you're trying to get your material broke down, get it separated, and get the black sands out so you can gravity recover all of your non-ferrous material. That's a drop in the bucket. I mean, you're looking at spending that on just about anything else. And then you're still going to have your black sand. You're still, if I put that, I'm not going to say any other products, but if I did that in any of 5 products that just popped into my head, anywhere from about the $250 range to $400 range, you're still going to have to deal with the black sand. So this would be a great way. You know what? I want to get my hands on one of those. I really do. I'd love to get my hands on one of those, because what I would do is I would take that, whatever mesh I ended up with, immediately take that and go to something like my multi-sluice with the final matting on it. Just go that straight to the multi-sluice and see what type of recovery I would have on that. I think that would be very, very cool.
Well, and when you figure that $400 is at $50 is 8 grams. I mean, you pay for it in 8 grams.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing a gram every Thursday still.
Oh yeah, at least gram. We're a gram and a half. So that doesn't take long to pay for it. Yeah,
and considering what you guys are doing when you're going out on your Thursday afternoon mining, which by the way I'm still very, very envious of. What you're getting, given the time that you work, you're running, I don't even know how many buckets. It's ridiculously low, and you figure you're running
5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6 buckets, and figure you're running the way you're running a quarter. You're getting a quarter a gram. Every 30 minutes is what it all boils down to, and you're just
a little. We run, including setup and takedown, is 5 hours total.
Yeah, that's it.
We're getting a lot of material, or a lot of gold in very little material.
Yeah. Well, that's from prospecting and getting into good material. And considering that you're doing it with hands and pans, or I call it hands and pans and sluice boxes like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, the last thing I want to know about the MagZip, because I did not see this, is that a 12-volt system or is it 110?
I think it's 12 volt.
I don't know.
I'm almost positive. He had I think it comes with a battery.
Okay.
As I recall, the unit came with a battery.
Okay. Because I know that shaker that he's introduced as well, that I almost hate to say anything about it because I can't remember the name of it, but he has that shaker, and that shaker is 110. That shaker's 110 that has a rheostat on it, and boy, you talk about something that just made really, really fast work of some material. That was pretty cool. All right, that's what happens. We didn't look at the website. We're just off the cuff talking about some of these things. Okay, so MagZip, that's one. Number 2, Bob Alvarez and the Gold Slinger version 2 or generation 2. It works.
Yes.
It's a cool unit, and yes, it works. And what is it? It's a couple of 5-gallon buckets that Bob took the time to be able to have replaceable classification, so you can go anywhere from 1 inch all the way down to whatever you want to do, 100 mesh, if you so choose to do that. But for me, where this thing really excelled for me, and what I really liked, was using it dry, because this is one that I have had the opportunity to use. Using it dry and being able to just do this really fast classification of bench run material down to 1/8 inch. Well, I went to quarter, and then I went to 1/8 inch. to get down to my gold
Mhm.
size very, very quickly and very, very efficiently, very fast. And what Bob did is the and the water version. I mean, if you're using it in water, it's even faster because of the way that he put the side panels into it. When you force it into the water and you make a quick turn with it, you're actually jetting that material into the classifying bucket. So,
Right.
and I know
Right.
you haven't had a chance to use it, and I think you've watched some of the videos on it, but I like it. I really do like it. It's a really cool sub $50 classification
Yeah.
system that you can put in different inserts. You can jump into it. You can use it wet. You can use it dry. And using it dry had a couple of challenges. And it's funny because Bob and I were talking about it. And he started playing. He went out and bought some dry material and then put in a lot of other rock and some other things and came up with a way of, as he was lifting it up, and he would lift it up and basically kind of spin it and let it drop back in. So he was basically going hands off on it, pick it up, spin it in the air, or spin it inside the interior bucket. And by the time it got to the bottom and it bounced that one time, man, I'll tell you what, for dry classification, it was, without going to something mechanical, that was the fastest thing that I've seen. Absolutely did a
Right.
great job.
Right. And again, that's more technique that, the system is, it doesn't seem to care whether it's dry or wet.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
just you have to have that technique.
Yeah, yeah,
And on the videos, when I was watching the videos, the first thing I was thinking is how this would really benefit me where I'm, on our Thursday, uh, Thursday mining day,
mm-hmm.
because we spend a lot of time having to classify down and to move that, to run that material. And this looks like a tool that is going to speed the process.
Right.
And if we can get, go from 5 buckets to 8 buckets, with the material that we're processing, that puts us over 2 grams, 2.5 grams.
Yeah, and for the short period of time that you guys are working, it makes sense. It makes sense. So, and then of course with all the different classifying screens, you pop them in, you pop them out. You can very quickly get down to your gold size, and just start. I don't know. I mean, it's you and your other mining partner. I don't see why one's not classifying, the other one's running, and make it quick work.
Right.
So, all right,
Right.
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I see a lot of it. It's one of those tools where I look at it and go, wow, you know what? That's pretty simple. I could probably build one of those. Yeah, I could. But why would I? It's so inexpensive in comparison to my time that it would take to build it the way that he's done it, to where the screens pop in and they don't come out, and they don't come out accidentally. They pop in, they set, they're ready to go, and you just make it work. It just, to me, it's an incredible time saver, and it is a great tool because I can classify a huge amount of material very, very quickly. And because there's nothing mechanized and there's nothing motorized or anything else like that, that falls within the 300-foot limit in California.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, but
Yes.
can you imagine?
It would be a stable in our mining area for
Right.
sure.
Oh, yeah. Use something like that and then go straight to a production pan. And I know that kind of defeats the purpose of the production pan of being able to put bench run in it, but can you imagine how much more material you could be able to get down and get classified to final recovery if I took it down to quarter inch? Let's just say that I took everything down to quarter inch and dumped that quarter inch directly into a production pan. I'm going to cut 2/3 of my time off of that, and then throw it in
Oh
a
yeah,
sluice.
plus
And
the
then,
concentration.
yeah, plus the concentration.
Concentration of material and
Yeah.
gold.
Oh yeah, it's wow. It's a sensible tool. It is a real honest to God tool, and Generation 2 is so far different than Generation 1. Yeah, I had Generation 1. Now I'm glad that I have Generation 2. I've got it in the full set of in the full set of screens, and it is, I can't wait to be able to get out and use it more and more and more. All right, the next thing is, and this is something that you had your hands in, as far as that, was it really on the development side that you worked with Dennis on this? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what your role was in this. I know that you had something to do with it, and to me, it's probably next to the mag zip. I'm going to say that this is probably going to be one of the coolest things that I've seen for the first quarter of 2020.
Right. And, Dennis, my business partner at Snake River, or was my business partner at Snake River, he is a master detectorist. And what he was looking for was that wireless headset to be able to have true wireless with the speed of a wired system.
Yeah, but there's wireless systems all over the place out there now.
Right there, the interesting thing is the wireless that's out there now they're kind of hybrids. So there's boxes on both ends, and you connect the headphones to it.
Well, not all of them.
Not all of them, but there's kind of a difference between price and the more technical systems are more expensive.
Right.
And the ones that are more affordable have multiple pieces. And what we were looking for was to have a very compact transmitter go directly to the headphones, and do it in a way that you don't have that target lag where you've swung over the target and then you get the beep.
Right.
And the system that we developed uses the newest 5.0 Bluetooth with it's called aptX low latency, so it's very fast. This is used in the sound industry for connecting speakers to stereos,
right,
and home theater systems. So it's very, very fast. And we took that technology and adapted it to metal detecting. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't care what the technology that it's connecting to.
Okay.
So the older systems and the newer systems can be connected to the system.
Okay. And in the interest of full disclosure, absolute full disclosure, I have had a set of these headphones for a few months. And I haven't completed the field test. I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and write the full field test on it. But the testing that I was able to do was really based on the latency. That was the very first test that I did, was the latency test. And I think I gave you, I don't even remember if it was 4 or 6 results of the latency test. And I found one machine that in really wet ground, I managed to get it to where it was about, if I had to put a time to it, and because I was timing the latency from the exact spot of the known target, it was less than 1/16 of a second is what it got down to. And that was, that was measuring it. So, given a swing speed, and if you're somebody that you were out there going a little bit too fast, then you're talking about at that period it'd be about 1.5 to 2 inches off, if I remember right.
Right.
But as soon as I slowed my swing down, which you're going to do, you go across the target, you hear the target, so now you come back and you go a little bit slower. I got that down into, I'm going to call it probably into the milliseconds, and it was spot on. So even though I had a little bit of a lag as I went across in this wet ground with one particular VLF detector, the moment I got the signal and I came back, all of that was gone. So that virtually disappeared. And the coolest thing about this is that I used it on every major brand of detector that there is. I used it on on all of my different machines. Now, The one thing that I will tell everybody that it does not work on is a machine that has built-in wireless already.
Right.
So that would, you don't want this if you have, I guess, you know what, I'm just going to call it out. I'm just going to use an easy one. If you have a MindLab Equinox 800, you don't need this. You don't need this at all because you've already got that system already built in. But if you've got a 1986 Fisher Gold Bug, this is for you. This is something that will go right onto your Gold Bug. It'll go onto your whites. It'll go onto your Tesoros. It'll go onto your Garretts. It'll go onto everything that's out there. And I know because I've tried it. I mean, I can give you an entire list of like 12 or 14 different detectors that I used it on, and it did a great job. And the thing that got me was it worked on everything. I didn't have to make any modifications. It's not like some of the other systems that were out a few years ago where you had a particular cord that had to go for this and a particular cord that had to go for that. And then you had to make a change here and you had to make a change there. It just simply, you plug it in and it works. That's all you had to do. There's no additional cording or anything else like that. And the other thing that I truly like, and this could be a game changer for the budget-minded detectorist that has a hearing problem where they're wearing the latest version, not 10-year-old or not 5-year-old Bluetooth technology hearing aids, but I think in what was it, last 2 years that the 0.5 or 5 point whatever it was,
5.0 with low latency is now in hearing aids.
Okay, so it has to be the low latency. So if you've got a set of headphones, or I'm sorry, a set of hearing aids, and they are the 5.0 low latency.
Yeah, it's called aptX low latency.
Okay, so if you've got a set of hearing aids that has the aptX 5 low latency.
Yes.
Okay, so if you've got that, you can pair this system to your hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that to me, that could be a game changer. But you have to remember that it has to be the low latency hearing aids, and I think everything in the last couple of years has been the low latency hearing aids. Unless that's an option. I don't know. I don't know if that's an option or not, or how that works or whatever. But that to me is very, very cool.
Right, and the headphones are supplied with the system, so if you don't have that capability, you can still put the headphones on and have all that, all that technology.
Right, but if I have hearing aids and I've got the headphones on. Did anybody try that? Has anybody tried that you know of? Do you have that feedback? I mean, I don't know if these are
not yet.
Okay, because I don't know about your headphones because it's not something I did. I mean, I know the manufacturer. That was really simple. The moment I opened up a case, I know exactly where those headphones are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But are they hearing aid compatible headphones? Because if they're not, then what do you do? Just put a set of earmuffs on that are hearing aid compatible? I don't know. That's something that needs.
That's a good thing to look into.
Yeah, it really is.
I'll definitely push that to Dennis.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's not your baby. I'm throwing questions at you that yeah. I mean I know you worked on the development. I thought it was just a development. And coming out with something that was truly affordable. So this is what's very cool about it. And I don't, let's talk about the price of this. This whole setup is under $150 for everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you've got to make this system affordable. And, a lot of these guys have older technology and they're really used to it. They've used it for a long time and they like it. and they're not looking to step up in the new technology in the detector. Now what you're doing is giving them something that's low cost that increases their technology on what they're already using.
Yeah,
And
low cost, low cost, high value.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the pair that I have that I've done the testing with, I absolutely love them. I have no complaints about battery life, nothing. I have no complaints about them whatsoever. But you know what? I need to find somebody. I need to find somebody in my area, or you need to find somebody in your area, because that's a question that we need to answer for the listeners of the podcast. Is
Sure.
Will these headphones, if you do not have low latency hearing aids, please send an email to, if you live anywhere in the Galt, California area, if you live anywhere in the Wickenburg Congress area of Arizona, or the Galt, Sacramento area of California, shoot an email to us to Hoagland, KH at Gold Prospecting. Geez. KH at prospectingedu.com or KB at prospectingedu.com, and let us know. And if you're somewhere in the area, let's try this, because I would love to put these headphones on you. Even if you don't, you won't even turn the headphones on. But if you have the low latency, I just want to make sure that you don't have that echo. I want to see if these things are going to be the compatibility, because there are headphones that are out there that are designed for metal detecting that are hearing aid compatible. So what happens is the absolute design of the headphone doesn't create that high pitched siren sound that happens with so many people when they're trying to use these headphones. And I'm sorry, you will have them on. You will have them on, because they won't pair up to your wow. Yeah. If you do not have low latency hearing aids, reach out to us if you're in the Wickenburg or Congress area, or in the Sacramento Galt area. Let's see if we can do an experiment and see if these headphones are going to work and be compatible with your hearing aids. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Definitely reach out.
Yeah, and that was KH at prospectingedu.com or KB at prospectingedu.com. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, last item on the list is an old friend.
I was just going to say an old friend.
Yeah, an old friend. Matter of fact, when I remember seeing this sluice box for the very, very first time, the first thing I did was gut one of my 3-inch dredges and put this box, cut out the entire back, mounted it in, put some tabs on it, affixed it to the actual sluice with the gutted sluice, and was an absolute fan of it. And then this sluice box disappeared for a few years, and now Jeff Davis at GeoSluice is running. He's running with this thing, and he's got the full rights, and he's building this sluice box, and it is the La Trappe. Gotta love the La Trappe. I mean, what a great sluice box. And you and I have talked about this a little bit. You've got a special affinity for this box, more so than I. Well, from your design aspect.
Yeah, and the dynamics, and when I talk about fluid dynamics, I mean that the La Trappe is the epitome of that type of a system, and it is just a killer on just it has a range of material that it runs fabulously.
Right.
And running your standard stream gravels, or material that has a fairly low content, doesn't have clay or mud or anything like that, lighter material, it is a killer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wish that I'd known you. I wish you had figured out fluid dynamics 30 years ago. And we could have sat down, and I knew you 30 years ago, and you had figured out fluid dynamics 30 years ago. because one of the things that I want to do is I just absolutely have got to get my hands on one of the new La Trappes, get it mounted up in the stand, cut the back panel out of it, or even set it up as the recirculator. And if I'm going to set it up as a recirculator, I'm going to go with the 2,000-gallon pump with a rheostat on it, so I can change the water flow to where I can get that down to that 1 foot per second.
Yep, 1 foot per second.
Yeah, just that pure that the place where fluid dynamics actually comes into play, and use that. I really want to use that box like that, but in a stream, because because of the way the La Trappe is set up, and for those of you that haven't seen a La Trappe sluice box, just type in La Trappe sluice box or type in Geo Sluice and go look at this thing, because it's an old friend. Like I said, it's an old friend that's not really even had a facelift. It's just, it is a great sluice box. And, for what it's made for. This is not, again, and there is no one sluice box that works for everything. I'm not going to run clay material through this sluice at all.
Right.
But I am going to run, I'm going to run a lot. I'll run just about everything else except clay.
Right. And the nice thing about it is it's so easy to use. When you lean, you can lean it out. You can run it a little steeper if you need to get material to clear. And the way it processes, the way it separates material is its strength. The way that it takes that gold and pulls it away from that material and then allows the lighter material to get flushed out. I don't know that there's another system that does it as well.
No, I haven't seen anything. I really haven't. And I wish I could remember the gentleman that invented the La Trappe. I never met him, but I remember talking to him at one point in time on the telephone, and we got into this discussion, and it's like, did I actually see right? Did it take like 100 mesh gold and actually pull it up and push it up a little, push it up this little ridge and kind of deposit it on the top? And he just started laughing and went, yeah, yeah, good job. You ran the sluice box right. Like, wow, how cool was that? So,
oh yeah. Yeah. And it's really, the nice thing about those type systems, they're very forgiving. They can run over a lot of different water flows, and you just lean them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if the water's a little fast, you just lean them out.
Yep, absolutely.
If the water's a little slow, you give them a little more tilt.
Right.
It's a pretty foolproof machine.
Absolutely. Okay, that's it. So we have the Mag Zip, the Gold Slinger 2nd generation, the Snake River Product headphones, and the little trap. That's it. That's all we're going to talk about today. We are done. Thank you for joining us today. This is the end of season 2, episode 2. Man, I'm so glad to be back. And everybody,
Me
please,
too.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to start hammering some more of these things out. We're going to have a lot more fun. We're going to talk about a whole lot of other things. And until then, go out, go prospecting. Have a great day.